Hi, hello. I've got an elephant on my shoulder. As a group, we also have a penguin and a panda. And we have a very shiny pair of hot pink headphones on a San Francisco marketer. Greetings, everybody, and welcome to Saturday Morning Marketing Smarties. I'm just clowning around here. And as you can see, I'm beside myself. Uh, um, How did I do that, you're wondering? What the heck is going on? Well, I am playing around with two computers and two cameras. So that should explain that. And actually, I'm going to go ahead and exit out of the one so it doesn't mess me up as I'm conducting the broadcast today. Who am I? My name is Roland, and I'm the owner of R&D Hotline. If you have a question, call the hotline. I don't even care if it doesn't have anything to do with internet marketing. But anyway, we're greeting people from all over the world, and hopefully you'll watch this live or possibly in the replay. It's pretty good at either way. But we like it when we're live and interacting with the people live. So thank you very much if you are here. I see that Randy is here, Randy Smith, Gary Whalen, Barbara Quick, my green room people who you will meet momentarily, and hopefully we'll have Dr. Margaret coming in and joining us. And anyway, they're commenting away already. So that's who I am, and that's who's in the audience. Who else is in the green room? Let's introduce Karen today first. Karen, say hi.
Greetings, everyone. I'm out here in San Francisco. It's kind of chilly for us in San Francisco. I think it got down to like the 30s and 40s last night, which I know for other parts of the country it is not necessarily cold, but it is cold for us. I'm a marketing consultant out here, and I can't wait to listen to and chime in on conversation today regarding Google Analytics.
Thank you, Karen. And by the way, that's not the only subject we have in mind, but we're going to start there. And another member of our green room, she has some very interesting news. So, Molly, take a little bit of time and tell us the good news. This is Molly.
Hi everyone, my name is Molly Youngblood Geiger. I'm located in Jacksonville, Florida. The name of my agency is Design Right For You, and I participate with Google on a couple different platforms. I'm a Google Partners Community Ambassador. I'm also a Google Partners Rising Star, and I participate in the Google Small Business community as an advisor. And yes, I have some pretty exciting news. Earlier this week, I was talking with one of my colleagues who happens to be a top contributor of web search, and he recommended that I check out the Google Hangouts forum, the help forum. And so I popped in there real quick and started answering some questions about Hangouts, about how to run them and use them and participate with them. And within 2 days, I got a message from the manager of the Helpouts forum, or Hangouts forum rather, and he invited me to be a rising star for that forum. So I was like super excited about that, and I have a new manager at Googleplex now. So that's the good news.
So we're going to have to start maybe 5 minutes early in our Hangouts, just so you can announce all the things that you're related to with Google. I don't know. Anyway, I'm just kind of jiving here. We're wrapping up the year already. I mean, if you're not engaged in your Christmas movement to sell your goods or whatever, and if you're not already in your campaign for the end of the year, it's kind of too late. You know, it should be already designed, and it should be in motion, and you should be hard at work selling your stuff. People preparing for Christmas and whatever, but not all businesses are holiday or Christmas related. So whether you are or not, we're just kind of on the go every Saturday, regardless of whether it's Christmas, New Year's, Easter, summertime, Halloween. I don't care. We do it anyway. We have fun with it, and here we are talking about marketing. So marketing has leaned heavily online. And it used to be everything was person to person or a storefront, but over the last 3 decades, that's completely changed. Over the last 2 decades, it's become dominantly internet as far as the trend goes. The last decade has been totally buried in the concept, and the last 2 years has been refining with social media. So the stages could be probably charted out on a timeline, and you would look at that and say, my God, it's amazing, the development and the changes. And you think, wow, people must have changed, but that's not it at all. The methodology and how we communicate and how we sell, how we participate, how we educate people, all that is what's changed. And in the changing process, a lot of things happen too. People take advantage of these systems. There's been black hat programmers, there's been scams and spam and everything else. But what we're concerned with in this program is helping you devise some foothold, some way to get started, so that when you do start to advertise and promote your company, you do something that's worthwhile, that makes a difference for actual business. So that's what we'd like to talk about. And so much of business nowadays is not direct business, but circumferential business, where you're teaching people what you are, and you're not doing as much pitching. As we said from a year ago, when the pitching goes up, the sales go down. And that's true in the modern marketing, and it's also inherent in the philosophy that outbound is out and inbound is in. If you're an agency that bases your business and your productivity on advertising, more power to you. I hope you're doing well, and if it works for you, and if people buy your services, great. But when we talk about small businesses around the world, their actual potential foothold to be one-on-one with a client in social media marketing, with a website, and in YouTube, and in Google Hangouts, where you're actually talking with them, not just to them, you have an opportunity that is unfounded in the history of marketing. This is something we're on a wave that is fresh and new, and it's going to be predominant. And Molly could tell you that by 2017 we're supposed to have a serious percentage rise in activity. And if you measured out what companies are investing in, the smart ones and the ones that really get a hold of this concept are all investing more and more in social and in video marketing. So if those aren't the two key things, I don't know what is. Now, do you say, do I need a website? I think so. That's my opinion, and other people will disagree with me. But the person that comes to me and says, oh, all I need is a Facebook page, I'm not your man. I'm not going to help you build that, because that's not part of the wheelhouse of what I believe in. And I think that if you're good at what you do, anything will work. So maybe you can do it with just a Facebook page. But the best combination is to build a platform that's going to work all weather, all times, and your best start is a website, some social media, and some video of some kind. And of course, we could steer you a little bit better if we sat down and talked, and we have various sessions throughout the year that we've covered these things, so we can direct you to past replays, and you'll get quite an education with that. And I'll take pride in the fact that even though there are trends happening, a lot of what we spent time on this year has not changed so radically as to be no longer valid or obsolete. So the stuff we deliver has been pretty current and pretty long life. So I'm very proud of that. So what are we talking about today regarding this? There are a few things. The first idea is the idea of analytics and SEO, because everybody has been asking us from time immemorial, what is, how can I SEO my site to get on page 1 of Google? And that's the magic combination. They say, can you SEO my site? And the answer is yes. The answer is there are things that we can do, that you can do, that you can hire people to do, but the basics are the basics. You have to do things that are going to generate traffic. So in the midst of this analytics, and we're thinking like Google Analytics, and there are other platforms out there, other tools that you can use, But Google's free. It's right there in your face, and everything's connected. So analytics from Google is one way, and we're going to basically base the discussion mostly on that. Hi, Lowell Ann, how are you doing? Um, she's saying something. I don't know what it is here, but let's see. Your website is where the selling can take place, not on SM platforms. A really good point, and it's totally coincidental with the things that we promote today. The social media platforms are places where people engage in the concepts of conversations and relationship building, which leads to your website. But people won't go there if they don't like you. So in social media, they got to like you first, right? And then that's where people put on their happy face and try to be something that either they are or maybe they are not. And then the genuineness tricks in. And if they are genuine, people will start to like them genuinely and will start to listen to what they have to say. So that's very simple. Simply the magic of social media. If you're a fake, people know it. They know it soon enough, and they won't buy it, and then they're gonna go elsewhere because they've got far too many choices to make. So in measuring analytics, and I'm going to invite Karen and Molly to chime in as I'm going through these things. I don't want to spend a lot of time, just introducing the concept before I spent 13 minutes. My God. But there are several subcategories in analytics and things that you should be thinking about for your website or for your outreach that are predominant. And they're pretty universal. And these are the 5, and then I'm going to ask Molly to kind of wrap up the concept at the end and add anything that she thinks I'm missing with this. Okay, so the first thing, and there are basically 5 categories that I've broken down. So the first one is to analyze the users and the sessions on your website. Just real basics. Who's coming to your website? How often? And so there are ways in Google Analytics to analyze that and get a readout. And by the way, it's not that hard to set up analytics, but it takes some time to understand what they mean. So you may need some guidance with that. There are books out there. There are people out there. There's Molly, there's Karen, there's me. So we can offer you some clues as we go. But for users and sessions, it's kind of like this. If 100 people are the users during the course of a week or a month or whatever time period, if you have 100 users, but you have 200 sessions, that means on the average people are coming to your site twice. It also might mean that half of them are coming 3 or 4 times, and like that. So you really want to know how accurate or how relevant your site is, so you've got a number of users. If they only come once, like if your user number matches your sessions, people aren't coming back. They're seeing you once and leaving. So that's one of the things to pay attention to. And Molly, do you have anything to add to the basics of what I've dealt out there?
Yeah. So what we're talking about is something called bounce rate. And what that means is when somebody lands on your website and you've already got the Google Analytics tracking code installed, and I can explain how to install it. It's really super simple. But what happens is when you have these users coming to your website, it tracks if it's a returning user or if it's a new user. And from there, we can gather data to figure out, well, if it's a returning user, why are they returning? And so that leads into something we call a bounce rate. And what a bounce rate is it is a data that Google Analytics produces that lets the website owner know, well, is somebody coming to my website and they're leaving in 10 seconds, or are they coming to my website and they're hanging out for 5 to 10 to 15 minutes reading information? And for a website owner, that's very, very important, because obviously we want the person to stay on our website. We want to produce interesting content such as video, pictures, information, selling points about whatever it is you're trying to sell to keep that person on the website. So a lot of website owners, they get really kind of upset when they have a high bounce rate. A high bounce rate would be something like you know, 70, 80, 90%. That means 70 to 80 to 90% of the people coming to your website, they're hitting it and I'm not interested. They're leaving. Now, if you get a lower bounce rate, like somewhere between 5 to 35%, you're doing really good. You're doing really good if you've got a 35% or lower bounce rate. If you're somewhere in between the 35 to 70% range, that means you have a little bit of work to do. That means, you know, people are coming to it, they're looking at some stuff, but they're just not hanging out very long. So that's what I would impart about this particular section about analytics.
But Molly, also too, wouldn't you say that if you're having those kind of bounce rates at those higher numbers, is that really should be looking at the content of the website, because it maybe is not matching or jiving to exactly what the individual was thinking that they were going to see, and that's why they bounce so, you know, that rate is so high?
There is a variety of reasons why people go to a website, and like Roland pointed out, there are bots out there that they don't really even count that tie into that. So we have to take that into account as well. But for the most part, when people are searching, they're looking for information. And if they say they type red shirts and you happen to sell red shirts and they come to your website and they don't find that information about red t-shirts immediately, then they're going to leave the website. In fact, and I tell people this all the time, if you're a website owner or designer, you have 3 seconds to catch that user's attention, meaning you have to produce some type of content, pictures, information, something that's going to catch that user's attention, because if you don't catch it within that 3 seconds, they're gone.
Okay, so the points are well taken. Most of these subjects, as we're breaking it down regarding analytics, these are just the numbers, the measurements of what's happening. But what Karen is suggesting is that what you do to prepare your site in the first place, which is exactly what I've been saying for a year now, your content is king. When you analyze that determines whether or not they're going to come back, whether or not they're interested. And then there's another thing too, is where are these people coming from? And we're going to get to that a little bit later. So thank you very much, and we'll briefly move on to the next thing here. The concept that is so new to the marketplace as the last few years, and this is probably the biggest impact point that we've had, and you can probably guess it's going to come rolling off my tongue in a second, and that's mobile marketing and the overview of what exactly mobile is. Now this is a changing environment. I'm not even sure how to analyze mobile marketing yet. But I do know that you have to prepare for mobile traffic, and maybe certain markets are going to be like not even applicable to mobile. You're going to say, why would they search for a certain thing in mobile at all? And the answer is, well, maybe it won't be exactly something that they will search on a mobile phone. But then you've got the sandwich shops and the laundromats and the stuff like that that's almost all mobile. You know, everybody that's on the go, traveling with their phone, not their laptop and not their computer and not their tablets. They're going to pick up their phone and say, where can I find this? And of course, it's going to be highly applicable to the mobile environment. So we have to analyze how you design your site, whether it's totally mobile friendly, whether the offer that you're making is something that's easily discernible on a mobile phone, and whether your subject is planting the people in the right way so that they can respond from their mobile phone to your offer and to your business, to your service or product. So what do you think, Molly?
I would add to that, whenever a business owner is going to design a website, I strongly recommend that they get something known as a responsive or mobile-friendly website. What that means is it renders a little bit more pleasant on a mobile device versus a non-mobile website. Something else I would also recommend is a tool that Google offers. It's called the Mobile Friendly Test Tool. And I'll post the link to the event page, but it's a free tool that Google has come up with where you literally just copy your URL, you drop it into the tool, and it reads the website to make sure it is mobile friendly. And if it's not, it will come up with different suggestions on what the business owner can do to make the website mobile friendly. One other thing I would add to what you're talking about in terms of mobile is Google has been studying the statistic for quite some time now, especially over the course of the last year, and they have shown that mobile usage has increased by over 50%. And this year, actually within the last month, they have shown that mobile search now exceeds desktop or laptop. So I think that's a pretty big statistic to know about, that people are using their mobile devices more often. They're using phrases like near me, by me, around me, because they are out and about and they need information.
That's great stuff. There's a whole science developing, and it's changing as more and more users are using. So as this develops, you're going to have to keep track of what's happening, so that every 6 months or every year or so, you really adjust your own marketing to be current with what's going on, because otherwise you build something now, next year it's going to be obsolete.
I would actually, oh, go ahead, Karen. Go ahead.
I was going to add to it too, is that just to make sure that everyone's aware. I know because we always beat this to a dead horse. Google My Business, and making sure that if you do have a product or service, make sure that you have your Google My page, your business page all set up, and making sure that you have your address and your phone number and all that information as current as possible. And now Molly can also talk about even more into detail that even holiday hours now you can actually list now with Google, which is you can specialize it where, given that the holiday season's coming now and shopping hours are different, you can actually customize your hours. So for special events now, you can actually do that too. So I think you have really no excuse now not to update your information for Google, because when you think about it, if you're at your Target, you're at your Kroger's or your Safeway, you're shopping, what you do, I do it all the time now. You go in, you're looking at something, if you go online, you see whether or not it's, is that a fair price? That's what you do now. So as Molly was saying, more than 50%, I would think by the Christmas season when this thing ends, it's probably going to be about 80% of all mobile is going to be, just the concept of just doing the research.
I totally agree with that, Karen, and I would just add too that you can track mobile usage within Google Analytics. It's a very important statistic and data to keep track of. And in terms of what you're saying about keeping in touch with all the different things happening, one project that Google's working on for mobile devices called Project Soli. And what it is it's a project where a user, instead of using the flat screen like you normally would, it's actually going to be a handheld application where you interact with your phone with your hand. So I think that right there, if they're working on technology like that, is a clear indication that staying on top of mobile trends is very, very important.
Cool. And obviously, we're going to get a flood of feedback and information in this session here. I'm glowing because of I couldn't figure out a way to block the sun coming in from the top, so I'm going to get my my vitamin D naturally as we go today during my hangout. We're also saying hello to Vivek and Anna Fernandez, and I thank you both for showing up and welcome. And Vivek always has some great stuff to post. I'm literally going to have to pass on most of his stuff because his posts are so prolific that they don't fit in a comment trackers thing. It's kind of too much for me to absorb, but I'm going to go back and read it later, and thank you for your contribution. What I would do to wrap up the mobile is to say one other thing about that, and that is that the design factor has changed radically with websites. We've finally absorbed the idea that if you've got a website, it's got to be responsive, okay? And it's got to be mobile friendly. Now, what does mobile friendly mean? For one thing, it means that you're going to change the dynamic design and what you present to the world. It's not going to be so much, I'm going to post my encyclopedia of my business online with this website. You're going to concern yourself more with converting to get people hooked to read more about a specific point and your primary keywords and your main service. And you focus on that, not the encyclopedia of what you do. Too many people are concerned with, I've got to have a page on this, and I've got to have a page on that, and I got to add 10 pages on this, and I've got to blog on this, and I've got to blog on 5 subjects. Well, you're dividing your power to focus on your primary keywords by many times by trying to put so much into your website. Now, part of it is organizing the website, and part of it is just feeding too much, worrying about what you're missing if you don't put it on your front page. So rather than do that, consider a campaign that focuses right on your primary outreach, and then build around that. Have a main website, have an encyclopedia if you want, but as you're putting your dollars and your efforts into marketing your primary contact points, make sure they're very narrow, very specific, and focused. So analyze that before you get started building your website.
Yeah, I think, Roland, I think what Vivek was trying to say, I think you just basically summed it up for him. It's all about. I just wanted to just point that out. I mean, what he's basically saying is that make sure that your site is highly navigable, so that it's easily downloadable, so that if you are using a mobile device, you're not going to piss off your customer if they're trying to find what you have and get to that information as quickly as possible, so that they can actually make that decision. I mean, either they purchase it then, or they go back to their house onto their desktop or their iPad and purchase it later. But that information should be readily available rather quickly.
Absolutely. That brings 2 things to mind. Number one, that we need you to curate Vivek's posts and edit when we miss. And then the second thing is that the website has to have multiple concepts involved, where people are going to grab onto you maybe from the mobile phone, but then they're going to go home to their computer and extend their research and come back to your website. So it's not just the mobile phone. It's not mobile only. It's mobile first, but not only. And that's something that part of our mantra for the past several months. Molly, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, I was just going to say one thing, and I still cannot believe people aren't doing this, but make your phone links clickable on your website. I cannot tell you the number of times I've been on my mobile phone on a website, and I'm looking at a phone number, and I click it, and it doesn't go to my phone, and I'm like, really? You know, I mean, most of our traffic is from a mobile device, and if that phone link is not clickable, you're gonna piss off your customers. That's the short version.
Yeah, I mean, after all, when you're driving down the freeway at 70 miles an hour, how are you going to call? No, I'm only kidding. You don't want to do that. But these various these various.
At least in the United States, you don't want to do that. We don't.
No, I don't think so. Yeah.
We don't do mobile while driving. No text and driving. No calls like that. No.
And I know this sounds weird, but I mean, way before you get into the accident, hopefully the policeman will pull you over and give you a ticket, so you'll never do it again. So, but anyway, when you're stopped at a parking lot, for instance, and you only have a few minutes, it really helps to have a device that you can lock in and record the phone number and record the data of your company, which is what you can do with these phone apps designed into WordPress, and the HTMLers know how to do it, but basically makes the phone number clickable. Very good point, Molly. So another thing that we would want to approach here, did we cover mobile enough? My God, it's I know that we're only touching the surface, but what we deliver when we talk about these subjects is not your full education on mobile or your full education on acquisition or whatever. We're talking about a subject that makes you become interested, so you can learn more about how it applies to your campaign and your outreach. And then that gives you a better idea of what you need to do to modify what your objectives are and what you're doing, your strategies, and what you're building. That's the objective here. A little education to steer you into increasing your education to do what you need to make a difference in your business. So the third subject is basically determining where your traffic is coming from, the subject of acquisition. And people think, oh yeah, I've got a website. Now let's see, now I just need traffic, so I'll hire an SEO guy and he's going to send a bunch of people to our website and that's going to bring me dollars. Well, there's a lot of loopholes in the midst of this, and you need to connect the dots to to make it an effective concept and to make the machine work. So yes, you want traffic. Yes, you want people to buy your things. But how they get there is another story today. And so much of it is linked to social media. What do you think, Molly? Or what do you think, Karen?
I actually was thinking more in terms of not the word acquisition, but more conversion, because the fact
That's
is
another subject. We're going to get to that one.
because
Acquisition is where your traffic is coming from. Conversion is what you do with them when they get to there, when they get to your website.
There is a report within Google Analytics called the Google Analytics Acquisition Report, and it's a very important report to look at because you're going to want to have your percentage at least 50% or above. If it's below 50%, you have some problems and issues regarding acquisition. There's several different sources that I would recommend monitoring. One would be social, one would be just general search. You know, are people going to Google and looking for your business? One would be direct traffic, meaning they just go to your website, meaning they've already seen you on social, or they've seen you, maybe a friend recommended you or emailed it to them. So there's several different ways we want to look at the Google Analytics Acquisition Report, because those insights are very valuable for business owners, because where you're not getting a lot of traffic, well, obviously that's where you want to focus your advertising to. If you're not getting a lot of traffic from search, well, then you want to maybe optimize your website for search. Or if you're not getting a lot of traffic from social media, well, then maybe you might want to tweak your social media campaigns to where you're getting more traffic from that. So I think that particular report is a very beneficial report for business owners, because it really does help you hone where it is you're getting your traffic from and where it is you need to focus on.
Okay, I have a point to make and ask you. I'm with you what you were describing, but tell us what that percentage represents. When you say your score's got to be at least 50% or whatever it is, what is that a measurement of? 50% of what?
Well, it's a measurement of how are people finding your website, meaning are people actively out there looking for your website, or are they not looking for your website? Because if you're not marketing your website, well, then that percentage is probably going to be below 50%, which means you need to do more marketing for your business. So that's specifically what it's referring to, is are people going to your website?
Okay, good. And thank you for that, because I know that when we throw percentages out to the people or numbers, it really can be confusing. And when we say percentages, we go percentages of what? So it really needs to be explained like that. One of the things
I was gonna ask that, or make the statement that if you want to get that number above 50%, or if people can find you, wouldn't that be? I know this is not the topic for today, but it would be using something like Adwords, right? I mean, that's the whole idea, so that you can be found.
Well,
I mean, there's the organic part of it where people can kind of find you by looking you up and making sure that you've got the keywords and all that stuff behind you, but it also helps to have Adwords.
Absolutely. There's search traffic, there's direct traffic, there's referral traffic, and then there's paid advertising, which is what we're talking about with Google AdWords. And that actually is a very good point, Karen, because for those people who are like, I don't have any traffic on my website, what can I do? AdWords is actually a really great option for them, especially if you're a brand new business and you haven't optimized your website for search. Because I tell people all the time, when you optimize a website for search, it is not like flipping on a light switch. It will take several months for Google to index your website and you actually show up. And so what AdWords does is it's a platform that gives a business an immediate exposure onto page one. Now, it is a paid campaign, meaning you are going to have to determine a budget, you're going to have to determine a daily budget, you're going to have to determine, you know, what type of campaign you're going to run and keywords, and there's that. Honestly, that would be a whole nother that would be a whole nother hangout.
Completely.
But it is a great way for a new business or entrepreneur business who's just starting out to get that exposure. And you can track that in analytics as well. It's known as Google AdWords conversion tracking. So, and that's another subject.
Yes, it is. And I'm watching so many things. It's amazing. We've been joined by Trinette Hackett, my niece, who actually is starting her own Hangout series and had her first session first session yesterday, and so she's well on her way of starting her own Hangout series and a program. And congratulations, Trinette, and welcome to the show. Here I am glowing and there's nothing that I can do about it. So that's the way it goes. Just ignore the fact that I've got a suntan in the making here. Vivek brings up a thing, and I know that your name is probably Vivekananda, pronounced properly, but I just can't mentally get past that easily, so I'm going to call you Vivek, and you'll excuse me, I hope. But he brings up the concept of a sales funnel, and he says one has to implement a sales funnel on your website, and I'm not in total agreement with that. I have some negativity towards the concepts of sales funnel, only because it implies an insensitivity and a non-caring aspect of what's going on in the process. When you just funnel people through something, you disconnect somewhat with the relevance and the value of the content that you're delivering. And you say, well, just get people there and then just put them in the funnel and forget about it, and they'll float on down the funnel. And to
Well,
me,
I think Roland. I mean, speaking for Vivek, I think that he's more thinking it more as a kind of a step-by-step process of the sales funnel. You know,
sure,
you start off very, very large with a lot of people, and eventually you get down, right? And I think
yeah,
he's thinking more of the, the conversion of, the sign up of the newsletter, which then leads to coming onto the website more often, which maybe, eventually get to actually purchasing the product or service. So
yeah, I agree.
I don't think of it as a negative. I think it helps actually to track and to be much more analytical, so that when you're
Exactly.
when you're making those goals, your original goals, and then what the original goals are to when you get to the end by looking at analytics, it helps you so much more to make those decisions and where to spend your money at.
That's
I'd like
the
to
exact.
quickly add something to what we're talking about here. What we're talking about is the customer journey.
Mm-hmm.
Google has very closely analyzed this, and they've come up with several different terminologies. One's called the zero moment of truth, but it's these events that happen on a customer's journey, meaning how did they get to your website? Did they do it through search? Did they do it through paid advertising? And then once they get to the website, like Vivek was trying to point out, what is it about the website that is going to convert that visitor into a user and possibly into a customer? So I think that's what he was referring to in terms of the sales funnel, is the actual experience that's going to it. And one term that Google has coined is called the ZMOT, or the zero moment of truth. And this is when a user turns into a customer, and they make that purchase decision. Okay, I'm ready to buy from this business right now. So I just wanted to just quickly throw that out there.
No, that was perfect feedback from what I had interjected there, because for no second at all did I think that Vivek was talking about he does these non-descript funnels that he's insensitive about. I know that he knows better than that, and I'm really glad that Karen brought it up, because that was exactly my point. When everyone hears the word sales funnel, they think automation, they think automatic. Oh, I don't have to do anything. I just set up this thing and I can detach myself and not pay attention. But really, the sales funnel of today is different from the sales funnel that you'll get in the diagram in the marketing scheme that somebody's going to sell you on the internet for $9.95. And you really have to involve yourself and decide how you're going to interact with the client or potential client in the midst of that funnel. It's not just a funnel. Nothing is just a funnel. It requires your interaction. So the feedback from both Karen and Molly, that's exactly why I wanted to bring up the idea of the funnel. When people hear the funnel word today, they have this mixed sensitivity to it, because they think funnel, okay, well, I understand you drop people into an inevitable hole into your buying scheme. And it's not that. A funnel is a place where we nurture the client, and it's a completely different nature, but it's a funnel. But
Mm-hmm.
when you say funnel, we don't want to get people to get the wrong impression about what you have to do to create an effective funnel.
Well, and I would actually add to that, since we are talking about Google Analytics, that you can create custom events, you can create custom goals and custom funnels. So I think that's a really nice feature that a business owner, like say you have a holiday, like just say a Christmas holiday shopping campaign, and you want to track, well, how is this particular campaign doing? You can actually, once you sign up for a Google Analytics account, get everything, your conversion or your code, your analytics code installed on your website. You can go in and set up these custom events. So
Cool. So thank you very much for the feedback from the field, and it's really feeding right into the conversation at hand. And now we're approaching this concept that you brought up a little earlier, Karen, and it's right in your wheelhouse, and that is the concept of conversion. And when we're monitoring all these other things, I held conversion to last because if people aren't on your team, if they're not listening to you, if they're not fans, you are never going to convert them. So just to measure the conversion ratios and see what it is not to analyze why and why not they actually converted or did not. So all these things that we've been talking about, get the people there, nurture the client, and give them an opportunity to be there, learn more, and we can educate the client, and then we want to say, are they at the zero moment of truth? And by the way, I love that you bring that up now, because I think that I brought it up in the Hangouts, Smarties Hangouts, the Hangies. Okay. Anyway, the Smarties Hangouts almost a year ago. I think it was in early January or February I first said ZMOT. And that's one of the things with the trends that's still here a year later, so that we're charging into 2016 with still plenty of juice and good ammunition. But the concept now is, if you've got traffic and if you've enticed them and you're nurturing them, what are the conversions worth then? And the bottom line is conversions, if you do this funnel, so to speak, and the nurturing and the building of relationships with your clients, and you start off by giving to the client first to get them on board, and then continue to give and over-deliver, the chances are of conversion go way up. But if you just put something out there for sale and try to put it in front of people and say, the more people that see it, the more people that buy, that's only partially true. So the rest of these things that we analyze is whether you're doing your job right. And now, Karen, what do you think of conversions?
Yeah, I mean, I see that, but I also see, I think, going back to the sales funnel, each step is a conversion. Where you go and you sign up, and then you can mark that as someone signing up for the newsletter, and you can then, there's that first stage, and then the second stage is that individual going to that newsletter and maybe clicking on something else on that, and that's the second stage, and then maybe there's the third is like there's a phone number and they call that number, and that's a conversion, and all that can be done through conversion tracking through Google Analytics. I'm also thinking too that I know this is a bigger topic. But how I like to bring them in. And I would also think we probably also want to touch into Google Tag Manager, where we're talking about products, we're talking about shopping, and that Tag Manager really does work so that you know exactly when that individual is purchasing or converting.
I would add to that, Karen, that's an excellent point. A lot of people, when you start talking about installing code, which is a requirement in order to install Google Analytics, they just freak out like, oh my God, I'm not a coder, I don't know how to code. That's where Tag Manager really is a big benefit for people out there who don't code. Now, I am a coder. I have no problem going into code mode, dropping the code, configuring it, testing it, and I'm happy with that. But for other people, it really can freak them out, and they're just like, "Oh my God, what? Where do I even begin to install Google Analytics or JavaScript and Adwords scripts? There's all kinds of scripts out there, and Tag Manager is a really great tool to be able to do that because it basically does the work for you. You go in, you sign in with your account that you already have with Google. You figure out what it is you want to do with the Tag Manager. You go do it, and then you can test it to make sure that it was done correctly.
Yeah, connected to all of this is the subject of the behavior of the user or the behavior of your visitor. If they show up on your website and they disappear in 3 seconds, they're probably a bot. If they go through your website, click a couple pages, but every time they get to a certain page, they leave the site, you should analyze what it is on that page that allows them to leave. And yet if they go to a page and they stay on it for a long time, you might consider putting a call to action right on that page. What the pages that are drawing the most attention should give the most opportunity for the client or the potential client to opt in or to buy or to sign up or whatever the case is, convert. So
Yeah, and that's where Tag Manager comes into play, because then you know
yeah,
exactly what page, what click got that conversion, and you can, the more information you have, the better. You can then build on that.
And I would add to that, what we're talking about here is known as an exit rate versus a bounce rate. So an exit rate is something also, as a business owner, you want to monitor. And like Karen was pointing out, you can do it within Tag Manager. You can go in, you can create funnels and goals and this type of thing within events, also within Google Analytics. And I just quickly want to show, this is probably a lot of information for somebody who's brand new to analytics. And so I want to let people know there are all kind of resources available to you. There's the Google Analytics Academy that you can study. And I would actually recommend that if you really are going to use analytics, you should maybe consider getting certified for it, because really, if you're going to do the work, you may as well get certified for it. And the Google Partners community, you can just go Google Partners. They have all kind of trainings. They've got a YouTube channel. They have the product manager of analytics, Justin Catroni. He's done all kind of hangouts for Google Partners. And I mean, every time I watch them, I learn something new, if that tells you anything. So I mean, it's like with any of the other products that Google offers. They're always going in and trying to improve it. They want user feedback. They want you to use the tool to help your business, because that's why they developed it to begin with. So.
And I was also going to say, to add on to it, there actually is a brand new community that Google just started. It's called the Google Advertisers Community, which is based on now for not just people who are into Google Partners, but actually businesses and I won't say, I'll call them laymen, but people who are not necessarily plugged in, but people who have businesses who can talk to other people, again, being part of that community, where they talk about AdWords, analytics, and I forgot what the third one is, but there's 3 of them that you can easily get on, and then I think there's about 2,000, 3,000 members at this time, and I'll put the link up. But you can easily join that and get updated on all that information all in one community.
that's very good. Thank you, guys. And I'm relying on you to post all these things so I can read into them myself. But anyway, this is what this show is all about, getting an education. And when you analyze the concept of conversion, all of a sudden, analyze the concept of analytics, it's apparent that it is not all about conversion, and it's not all about traffic by the blanket statement of traffic. It's how you got people there, what your content is like once they get there, whether they're going to be staying on your content and using your content and appreciate your content, and what they do when they get to your website, and whether or not it's designed to convert well. So there's multiple things. How your traffic gets there, what do they do when they get there, whether or not you give them a good call to action and they actually buy in. These are all things you have to pay attention to, and you can get so many clues with your analytics. So as we're never going to get to the second half of what I plan, and that just means it's going to be another show. One of the things that I was going to be concerned with in the second half, but I'm glad we turned out this way, is that there are many, many trends. Obviously, mobile, obviously responsiveness, obviously, different types of commercial advertising has gone way up, in spite of the fact that we think that self-advertising and promotion in social media is like the way. Actual commercial advertising, the buy on commercial advertising, has way increased on the internet. So it's not just a solo job, and it's not just a one-way street. There's a lot going on, and there are a lot of options for people. But most of the people that we have watching Smarties are members of small groups, small businesses, and maybe no businesses, and people looking to get started. So what would we finalize the concept of analytics for those who are watching that are the small businesses and the newbies, and where do they get started?
Well, if you're a small business and you're not familiar with Google Analytics, I'd recommend going and checking out their website first, just to find out what is Google Analytics, what does it do, why did Google develop the product, and how can it help your business. I know for me, it's been a very insightful tool. I have used it pretty much since I've gone into business, and I would definitely recommend some of the trainings that you can learn from some of the hangouts that Justin's done. You can also just read and learn information from the Analytics Academy, and then, like I recommended, if you really are, going to push, the pedal to the metal, just go ahead and get certified for it. They're all the time coming up with improvements and different strategies that businesses can use Google Analytics and Tag Manager. So it's one of those things, I think, as a business owner, you have to identify who's visiting your website, what are they doing on your website, and if you're not, you're doing yourself a big disjustice, because as a business owner, you have to think ahead of the pack. You have to look at what's going on with your website, with your traffic, with your customers, and determine how am I going to plan in advance based on this data that I have.
There you go. And really, you've hit the nail on the head regarding statistics. Because if you don't absorb the statistics that you're reading, and it doesn't change your actions or change your campaign or change your modeling and change your calls to action, then the analytics are worthless. You're just playing a game that is by chance and the chance numbers, and chances are you're going to have bad numbers. And if it's not intentional, what we devise is way less powerful. So the education of what's going on, a lot of people are not going to want to get into the education of analytics, but the concepts that we talked about in this hour are the ones that you should pay attention to and start reading about, and then you'll know why you're going to be using Google Analytics.
I also think too, to back to what Molly was saying about certification, even if you don't actually will do it for yourself in terms of you want to pay for an SEO specialist to do it for you, I think it's really a really good opportunity for you to actually study, so that you'll know whether or not this individual could be could be a scammer, so that you have some idea of what's going on. Plus, to give you some incentive to study for this test is that once you do pass, it's good for 18 months. So you don't have to, study every year. It's, every 18 months. And so once you get that, you'll feel much better, I think, in terms of knowing what's out there. And then also, if you do want to hire that SEO specialist, you have a better understanding of what questions to ask or what to look for, or to kind of get those indications of whether or not this person is for real or not for real. Also, you can also check once you're certified, also going back to the Google partners and see, is this person really a Google partner? Is that person that you're hiring, he or she actually certified? Which I think is key.
Are you going to add a statement regarding the scammers, Molly?
Yes, I actually did a hangout about, this is about 6 or 7 months ago, about scammers. I mean, about these robocallers that call you up and say, oh, we can get you on page 1 of Google, or oh, we know how to monetize your website, we know how to do this, and we know how to do that. And I get these calls all the time, and I'm just like, obviously you don't know who you're talking to, because I participate in the Google Partners community. I do this for a living. I know I know how to actually get somebody on page 1 of Google, and it just amazes me that these companies prey on the ignorance of these small business owners, and I feel bad for them, and that's why I did this hangout. And I'm really glad I did it, because about a month or so ago, Google actually took one of these businesses to court who are scamming these people. And I remember seeing an actual news clip of this small business owner. He said, I'm getting these robocalls, I'm getting them every day, they're taking away from my productivity. And so finally he just broke down. He's like, here's, I think it was $400 that they charged him. They did nothing for him. They did absolutely nothing except rip him off. And I mean, when I saw that, I was just like, this is just terrible that these agencies are out there doing it. And that's why Google has the Google Partners community, because those people in that community, they actually know what they're talking about. They've studied, they're certified, they will actually be able to help you as a business owner succeed online, and they take trainings in AdWords, analytics, mobile, shopping, Tag Manager, all these different tools that Google has provided, they really study hard and work hard to have the skill set and best practices to be able to take those tools and use them for your business so you can succeed.
It's so important that you watch this show and replay and watch the ending 10 minutes again. Because one of the things that I've been prolifically uh, shouting since the very first start is that half of what's on the market, not even half, more like 80% of what's on the market as far as offers to help small businesses build websites and develop campaigns is BS. It's total bullshit. And it's obsolete. You've heard me use that term before. You've heard me say, I don't agree with all the marketers out there, and I'm kind of like the Lone Ranger. This is exactly why. You have to read up and study your own so you know what to do for your business. And if you just listen to somebody, you're going to pick the odds of you picking the wrong guru are about 5 to 1, and probably worse than that. But if you're going to choose a wrong marketer and waste your money, are you going to flip a coin that's got 6 sides and just, hope that it comes up heads? No. You've got to do some research, do some things until you actually trust the people who are going to be working on your project and can know that they're going to do the right thing. So Molly's got a really good idea there. Karen has a degree in marketing. That's a great start too. But Molly has this wealth of knowledge in Google everything, and I've just been in the trenches doing it myself for about 20, 30 years. So, we basically have been there, done that. We've got a lot of views around the same thing, but they all center on the truth of simple marketing that makes sense. You don't have to know everything, but you've got to do a few things right. And for the small business, you can't afford the budget to do everything at once. Maybe you can't quite afford an AdWords campaign. If you can, it's a good thing to start off with your new website or your new outreach to do a combination of social media and SEO and a little bit of AdWords too. And the AdWords will supplement your traffic early and your sales early until your website takes over and you sell yourself from word of mouth and from people talking about you. But you've got to get started. So
Roland,
if you
Roland, I was going to add to your comment is I think there's this misnomer that AdWords is really expensive. And AdWords isn't expensive in a sense that when you kind of keep and think about it, it's basically cost per click, right?
Yeah.
It's cost per impression. And so you are paying for what you believe of what the cost per click is. And so I always feel that people think it's really, really expensive, but it really isn't, because if you're using it and you're using it wisely, it could be your best advertising dollars because you're reaching people either through bid adjustments, or we can go on for details on that manner, but you can reach your audience where they are and when at that moment they're about to purchase or thinking about searching.
Molly, I'm going to let you wrap up the concept right here. I'll let you wrap it up. But the point that I would like to emphasize, what Karen's bringing up, is if you have a lousy product, no matter how many dollars you put into AdWords, or if you're a lousy service, no matter how many dollars you put into AdWords, it's not going to make any sense and it's not going to make any money because nobody's going to come back, nobody's going to buy you twice, and you're going to get a bad reputation out there. So start off with a good product or service, get good content supporting you, then do your AdWords. Go ahead, Molly.
Yeah, I'm just going to quickly add to what both of you were saying about AdWords. I think there's a very common misconception that, again, it's expensive, and I've heard so many times of people going out there and starting an AdWords campaign, and they're like, it just doesn't work, it just doesn't work. Well, there's actually an entire science behind how to run and build out an AdWords campaign. I'm not even going to go into it because that honestly is several different hangouts that we could do about AdWords optimization. But the important thing to know is to educate yourself about AdWords. Go out there, Google it, research it. There's all kind of AdWords help articles out there. There's videos. There's communities that are dedicated to AdWords. But I think if you are going to consider doing an AdWords campaign, you really need to do your research first. I also agree with what Roland's saying about your product, your service. It's got to be something that the general public's going to want to purchase or use. And then once you have that product or service that you know somebody's going to want to buy from you, then that's the time to go do your research about launching a campaign with AdWords, because there's that interim that, you know, you're just a little shaky, you know, your SEO is not in place, you're maybe just getting started on social media, and by you implementing a Google AdWords campaign, it's going to give you that credibility instantaneously to where you're able to get yourself seen, get your product seen, get your services seen, and use it on your budget. And that's something else I think a lot of people think. They think, oh my God, this is going to cost me thousands of dollars. No. I actually typically recommend a budget of $20 a day, $20 a day to start. Now that's maybe a little bit expensive for some, but you know, you're talking, you know, $500–600 a month. But it's not, and I look at it like this. This is an investment into your business. A lot of people look at it as an expense. In reality, it's not an expense. It's an investment. Because if you take, let's just say, $1 and you make $3 off of that, well, then you've produced a return by using an AdWords campaign. So that's something else I would urge people to look at it as an investment versus an expense.
Well, I think, again, it's back to that whole conversion tracking, because you can use conversion tracking with a combination of AdWords and analytics, and you'll know exactly, if you're spending $20 a day, where those clicks are coming from and where that conversion is going. And if it's coming through and you're making $3 more than what you paid that initial dollar, I mean, to me, that's great return on investment. And that's what AdWords is about. It's all about return on investment.
Exactly. You nailed it, Karen. I mean, that pretty much sums it up. And you know, I know for myself, my clients were the ones who were like, I need this, and that's why I took the time to go out there, research it, and I've done a lot of research on AdWords. I've done a lot of training. I've done a lot of testing, and it's something that I think once you become familiar with the product, you educate yourself about it, you empower yourself, and you realize this is not something that's costing me. This is something that's actually helping my business. So.
Yep. I knew that we weren't going to get any further than half of my lineup, but I mean, I'm glad we had this conversation today, because it basically shows the people, if you're thinking about a business online, everybody, you know, the shiny object. Oh, I could start an online business, but if you don't have a product or service that's worth buying, forget it. So if you want to be an affiliate marketer or something, fine, but find something that you can really get behind and promote with your heart, not just display online and hope that it snags buyers, but really get involved with something that you can personally indulge in and support, and that's got a chance. Otherwise, you have no chance. There is no chance. And if you can get behind something, great. So did you have some last thought, Molly?
Yeah, I would just share. I'm going to share a link into the community, or into the event rather. It's the Google Partners YouTube account, and it is a great place to start. It has all kind of videos, trainings, overviews, just a lot of really great information about analytics and shopping and AdWords. You know, just wet your whistle, just to kind of see, well, what is analytics about, or what is AdWords about? A lot of great training videos, so I'm going to post that to the event page. And I would just quickly say, if anybody has questions about analytics, AdWords, shopping, Tag Manager, any of those products, I use them every day. I talk to people about them every day. I implement them for businesses every day, and I'm happy to help out if I can.
Great.
Hey, Molly, you might also want to add to the YouTube Google Partners link too. Yeah. Because I mean, yeah, that would definitely help folks, because I know, you know, just clicking on and looking at all of that, you know, text would kind of be intimidating for someone. But if you want to just watch videos in terms of what each of the different certifications are, that could kind of wet your whistle in terms of what, you know, what is fundamentals, what is search, what is display, what is visual, what is video, excuse me, what is mobile, and what is shopping.
That's actually a really good point. And just recently in the Google Partners community, they had something called the Specialist Challenge. And what it was an initiative for mobile advertisers, or digital advertisers rather, to get certified in all those different aspects. So these people really have a very well-rounded knowledge base of, well, how do I optimize for mobile, or how do I optimize for shopping, or how do I optimize for search or display? Even something like if you have an app, there's an entire AdWords campaign that it's dedicated to advertising apps. So it's called the Universal App Campaign. So, and I see as Google's growing, as AdWords growing, as analytics grows, they're all growing together in terms of what can we do with these tools to improve them so that the business is going to succeed. In fact, they just rolled out a brand new mobile bid adjustment tool earlier this week, where a mobile or digital advertisers can go in and simulate a mobile campaign before they even push the go button. So I think when you have tools like that, that's going to give that advertiser the benefit of the doubt on, okay, well, I'm going to go kind of test the water, see if this mobile campaign is worthy of being launched before they even hit the go button.
Okay, cool. Obviously, once again, we've drilled in and offered so many connections and so many ideas that people will have to rewatch this to remember what we said. But one of the things I wanted to bring up is Nathan Siegel has added a link to fraudaid.com threats, so that if you want to know how to recognize a threat from a scam source, that might be a really good thing. Thanks for joining us, Nathan. And I know you got here, I think, after we started, but thank you for checking in. And we are going to wrap this up now because we've got everyone's going every which way after we wrap up the program. But this is another glimpse in what you can do to educate yourself. And I know that Molly said that the Google communities and the places she mentioned were great places to start. But Saturday morning Marketing Smarties is also a great place to start. Good day, everybody. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you soon.